Hello everyone and welcome back to my class. As you know that I am Halimani, teacher and junior lecturer of Ahle Bait High School and Junior College. So in today's class we will discuss about the unit 3rd from economics, that is from first year. Okay, and the chapter name is demand analysis. Here in this chapter demand analysis there are two parts, that is part A, it's about the theory of demand, and part B, that is about the elasticity of demand. In part A, theory of demand, here it deals with the meaning of demand and demand functions and determinants of demand and types of demand and the price demand, that is law of demand and income demand, at last cross demand. All these topics are related and it will come under the part A, that is theory of demand. Now we will discuss about the first A only. So here demand is generally treated as a synonym for the desire. Exactly. Here without considering the economic implication of the word, the demand for a good or services play a vital role in the determination of price of goods and services also. So here the units is divided into two parts. For the convenience of explaining the theory of demand, already I said that this unit is divided into two parts for the convenience of our better understanding and for the explanation of about the theory of demand and the elasticity of demand. Here in a part A is present, the unit deals with the extensively with the meaning of demand and all that what I have told just now. Then, so here in this part and in other part, here the determinants and the importance of elasticity of demand in general and the plus. Here part A, which is present with the deals of the extensively with the meaning of demand and the factors influencing the demand and the demand functions and changes in demand, that is for the superior, inferior and the substitute and complementary also for goods and services. So here after that the law of demand and its acceptations and the changes in demand with clear numerical, graphic and symbolic. Okay. In another part, that is part B, here the determinants and the importance of elasticity of demand in general and price elasticity of demand in specific are explained in part B, which we will discuss after part A. So here in part B, by using the simple numerical examples and the graphic representation over there. So first we will go with the part A, that is theory of demand. First we will deal with the meaning of demand. Here generally the two words demand and desire are used in a similar sense. Exactly. But there is a clear difference between demand and desire. So it is to be noted that demand in economics is something more than desire, which is a part of demand only. So every desire does not constitute demand. Get it here. So then the concept of the demand means that the consumer is willing and able to purchase the commodity which he desires. His desires should be backed up by his purchasing power. Exactly. So here a poor person's desire to travel by air from Hyderabad to Bangalore has no economic significance. So as he doesn't possess the ability to pay for it. Get it? So on another side here, the another person's desire to travel by backup by purchasing power constitute demands. Getting here? So a consumer's desire will not become a demand if he or she is willing to pay but is unable to pay. So here if a consumer has the ability to pay but it is not willing to pay, then his desire will also not to be called as demand. Get it? So it is understood that the word demand has some features and they are desire for commodity and the ability to purchase that commodity and the willingness to pay the price of that commodity, and the demand is always at a price, and at last the demand is always per unit time, that is per day, per week, per month or per year also. So this is the meaning of demand. Now we will see the demand function. In demand function is a mathematical expression showing the relationship between the quantity demanded of a commodity and the factors that determine it. So it can be expressed in the form of a function. So see this. So here demand is dependent on a variable and the prices, incomes and the taste of consumer and independent at the variables. Get it? So after this demand function, so now we will see about the determinants of demand. There are a number of factors and determinant the demand for a goods. Okay, here the demand function show the relationship between the demand and the factor that determines the demand for a good. Okay, here are some of the important factors that determine demand, and that are the price of the commodity and the prices of substitutes and the complementaries, and income of the consumer and the taste and preferences and population, then the technological changes, and then the changes in wealth, and at last the state of business. So now we will discuss all these determinants in detail. So here first we will go with the price of the commodity. The demand for a commodity is inversely related to its price. Exactly, if the price of a commodity decreases, its demand will increase, and that is in a vice versa position. Okay, then in prices of substitutes and complementaries, here the demand is also influenced by the changes in the prices of related goods, that is either substitutes or complementaries. Here the price of substitutes influence the demand for a commodity up to a certain extent. Get it here? So an increase in the price of coffee leads to the increase in the demand of tea. Absolutely. So in case of substitutes, there exists a positive relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. Get it? Here the automobiles and fuel are complementary goods. Then in case of the complementary goods, there exists a negative relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. Get it here? So come to the income of the consumer. Income of the consumer. Here income of the consumer is another important determinant. An increase in the income of a consumer led to an increase in his purchasing power. Exactly, or quantity demanded. Absolutely. Get it here? So after the income of the consumer, now we will see the tastes and preferences. Here demand for a commodity may change due to change in the taste, preferences and fashions. Exactly. Taste vary from person to person. Here taste do not remain same forever. Exactly, we know this very well. So when an increase in the use of a trousers reduce the demand for dhotis. Exactly, due to this change in fashion. So here the advertisements also influence the demand for a particular commodity. Exactly. Now population. Here the size of a population of a country is another important determinant for the demand. So here if a change in the size of a population will affect the demand for certain goods. Exactly. After this population determinant, now we will see the technological changes. Due to technological progress, new discoveries enter the market. As a result, all old goods are substituted by new goods. So here the increase in the demand for cell phone reduces the demand for landline phones. Exactly here. So this is the technological change and the determinant of demand. Getting here? So now changes in weather. Here the demand for a commodity may change due to the change in a climatic conditions. Absolutely. Whenever during summer demand for cool drinks, cotton clothes and ACs increases. Absolutely. Whether during in winter, here the demand for woolen clothes increases. Getting here? How this determinant for demand is playing a very important role in this. Getting here? So after this, state of business. During the period of prosperity, demands for the commodities will expand, and during the depressions, demand will contract. Exactly. So here the demand for goods depend on the state of business and the economic activities. Exactly. All these are the determinants for the demand. Now we will see the types of demand. Three major kinds of demand may be distinguished on the basis of its determinants, and they are price demand, income demand, and the cross demand. So here now we will discuss about all these three major kinds of demands in detail. First we will go with the price demand, that is law demand. So here price demand, that is law of demand. Here the price demand explains the relation between the price and the quantity demanded of a commodity. Exactly. So here the price demand states that there is an inverse or negative relationship between the price and the quantity demanded of a commodity at a point of time. So here it is assumed here that other things such as consumers' income, price of substitutes, and the prices of complementaries, taste and preferences of the consumer, etc. here remain the constant. So here the quantity demanded of a particular commodity is depend on its price, exactly, being other things remaining constant. Get it here? The law of price demand can be expressed in this form. See this. After the price demand, demand schedule and demand curves. So in this, here the demand schedule is a list of prices and quantities. That is, a demand schedule states the relationship between the two variables. So here the demand schedule is of two types, and they are individual demand schedule and market demand schedule. First we will go with the individual demand schedule. An individual demand schedule is a list of the various quantities of commodity purchased at different prices by a single consumer in a market. So here the hypothetical individual demand schedule is presented in this series. So inverse or negative relationship exists between the price and the quantity demanded of a commodity. Now we will see about the derivation of the individual demand curve. So here we can draw an individual demand curve on the basis of above mentioned hypothetical individual demand schedule. So here see this. And figure out quantity demanded is shown on the OX axis and the price of apples is shown on the OY axis. So here we can obtain the demand curve, that is DD, by joining all the points, that is A, B, C, D in this, which presented the various quantities demanded at a various prices. Now the market demand schedule. In a market, there exists a number of consumers who purchase a various quantities of a commodity, exactly, at the corresponding prices. So here market demand schedule refers to the total demand for a commodity at a particular period of a time and at various prices in the market. Get it here? So we can obtain the market demand schedule by adding up the individual demand schedules of all the consumers in the market. So here the market demand schedule shows the total demand for a commodity by summation of the individual's demand. Suppose in a market there are three individual buyers, namely A, B, C, purchasing apples. So here a hypothetical market demand schedule is presented in this table. See this. Market demand schedule refers to the total demand for a commodity at a particular period of a time at various prices in the market. Get it here? After this, now we will see the derivation of market demand curve. Here we can draw the market demand curve with the help of market demand schedule that is presented in this. So see this form. It is obvious that by adding up the individual demand curves of AD, BD and CD, we can derive the market demand curve, that is MD, which has the negative slope like individual demand curves. Now after that we will see the assumptions of the law of demand, and the assumptions of law of demand are these. See this. After the assumptions of the law of demand, now we will discuss about the exceptions of the law of demand. Here the law of demand is a general statement stating that the price and the quantity demanded of a commodity are inversely related, but in certain situations more will be demanded at a higher prices and less will be demanded at a lower price. So in such cases the demand curve slope upward from left to right, which is called as exceptional demand curve, as shown in this figure. See this one. Here the reasons for the downward or negative slope of demand curve in this, here the law of diminishing the marginal utility and the income effect and the substitution effect and the multiple uses of a commodity, and at last the old and new buyers here. So now we will discuss about all these in detail. First, it is observed that the demand curve is generally possess a negative slope for the demand. Okay. Here the main reasons for this existence of the negative slope of demand curve are all these. First we will go with the law of diminishing marginal utility. So according to this law of an individual, if an individual consume more of a particular goods, here the utility that the consumer gets from the additional utils will diminish. Okay. The price of a commodity that a consumer is ready to pay will not be more than the utility of it. Get it here? So after this, now we will see about the income effect. The real income of a consumer will rise due to the fall in the price of a commodity. Exactly. So being other things are remaining constant in this. Okay. When we come to the substitution effect, here the being the price of a substitutes remaining the constant when the price of a commodity falls and it becomes a relatively cheaper and is substituted for the other good. For example, if the price of a Colgate paste rises relatively to the close-up, here the consumer may substitute close-up in place of Colgate. Exactly. After the substitution of effects, now we will see about the multiple uses of a commodity. Here there are some commodities which have a multiple uses like milk, coal and electricity. If the prices of these commodities falls, there will be a greater demand for these goods rather than those which are restricted to a particular use. Getting here? So this is the quality of a multiple uses of a commodity. Now we will see about the old and new buyers. If price of a good falls, here the real income of the old buyers will increase absolutely. As a consequence of this, the demand for the good may increase. In the same way, when the new buyers who were unable to buy the good in a higher prices will be able to buy it after it fall in prices. Exactly. As a result, the demand curves slow downwards from left to right. Get it here? After this, now we will see about the changes in demand. Firstly, the extension and contraction, then increase and decrease in demand. So here changes in demand. First, in changes in demand, first is that the extension and the contraction, and second is increase and decrease in demand. So here the changes in demand take place due to the changes in price of the good and the price of the relative goods, taste and the preferences and the income of the consumers. Exactly. So here first we will go with the extension and contraction. Okay. In this, the law of the demand explains an inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. Okay. If other things like price of related goods, taste and income etc. here remains the same. More will be demanded at a lower prices and less will be demanded at a higher prices here. So when more units are demanded at a lower price, then it is called the demand extension. On other side, when less units are demanded at a higher prices, then it is called as demand contraction. Get it? So here the extension and the contraction in demand can be explained on the same demand curve. So this is shown here. See this. Being other things remaining constant, an increase or decrease in demand due to the change in the price resulted in an extension or contraction of demand only. So after this extension and contraction, now we will discuss about the increase and decrease in demand. So here increase and decrease in demand. Increase or decrease in demand take place due to a change in other determinants of demand like income, price of substitutes and the complementaries and the taste of the consumer, etc. are there except the price of the good. So here the being the price of the commodity remaining the constant and the change is other remaining constant, here the change in other demand determinants may cause the increase or decrease in demand. So in case of increase in demand, the demand curve shift towards the right to the original demand curve. In case of an increase in demand, here the demand curves shift towards the right of the original demand curve. And other side, in case of a decrease in demand, here the demand curve shift left of the original demand curve. Getting here? So this is explained with the help of this figure. See this. So here being a price of the commodity remaining the constant, the demand curve shift right or left due to the change in other determinants of demand. Get it here? So after the changes in demand, now we will discuss about the income demand. Here income demand explain the relationship between the various level of consumers' income and the various quantities of goods and services that demanded, assuming other factors remaining the constant here. So the other factors here include price of the good and the price of the related goods, taste and the preferences, etc. are there. So there is a functional relationship between the changes in income and the changes in the quantity demanded. Get it? Obviously. Here the functional relationship between the income and demand is shown in this formula. See this. So after income demand, now we will see the income demand schedule. See this table. So it explains the relationship between the various level of income and quantities demanded for both superior and inferior goods. Whenever income increase, the quantity demanded of a superior goods increases and the quantity demanded of inferior goods decreases. Getting here? So after the income demand schedule, now we will see the income demand for the superior or normal good. Here in case of superior or normal goods, here the quantity demanded increase. When there is an increase in the income of the consumers, here the income demanded for superior goods exhibits a positive relationship between the income and the quantity demanded. So here the demand curve slopes upward from left to right. In case of superior goods, income demand curve slopes upward from left to right. After that, superior goods, now we will see the income demand for inferior goods. Okay. Quantity demanded of inferior goods decreases with the increase in income of the consumers. So here the income demanded for inferior goods has an inverse relationship between the income and the quantity demanded. In such cases, the demand curve slopes downward from left to right. See this. So in case of inferior goods income, here demand curve slopes downwards from left to right. Get it here? So all these are the income demand. And now we will discuss about the cross demand. Here the cross demand refers to the relationship between any two goods which are either complementary or each other or substitute for each other. Getting here? So it indicates the quality of goods demanded when the price of its substitute or complementary goods change. Get it? In short, the functional relationship between the price of the commodity, say Y, okay, and then the quantity demanded for another commodity, that is say X, okay, it is called cross demand. See this? So here the cross demand refers to the certain commodities whose demand depend on not only their prices but also on the prices of related goods also. So here the related goods may be either substitutes or complementaries. Here the other things such as the price of the good, income, taste, preferences, etc. remaining the same. So here the quantity demanded for a commodity depends on the price of related goods. Get it? Now come to the substitute goods. So here substitute goods. Substitutes are those goods which satisfy the same want. Get it? For example, tea and coffee, Colgate and Close-Up, Pepsi and Coca-Cola, etc. All these are substitutes. So see this table that it shows a positive relationship between the price of the coffee and the quantity demanded of tea. If the two goods are close substitutes, they will satisfy the same want. Exactly. Here the tea and coffee are close substitutes. If the price of a coffee decreases, the quantity demanded of tea will. Here the tea and coffee are close substitutes. If the price of coffee decreases, the quantity demanded of tea will decreases, even though its price is constant. So here the relative price of tea when compared to the price of the coffee becomes higher. So here consumers shift their demand from tea to coffee. Exactly. In the same way, if the price of a coffee increases, the quantity demanded of a tea increase. So its price is constant. In the case of the substitutes, here the demand curve poses a positive slope, that is slope upward. See this. In case of substitutes, the cross demand is positive. Remember this one. After the substitute goods, now we will discuss about the complementary goods here. Here the complementary goods are those which satisfy the same want jointly. For this, car and fuel, shoes and socks, bread and butter, etc. All these are the complementary goods. See this table, it shows an inverse relationship between the price of fuel and the demand for cars. If the price of fuel decreases, here the demand for cars may increase. Exactly. So being the price of a cars remaining same here, for cars may increases. See this, it shows the demand for cars is taken on OX axis and the price of fuel is taken on the OY axis. If the price of a fuel decreases from OP to OP1, here the quantity demanded of the cars may increase from OQ to OQ1. So here the cross demand for complementary goods is inverse. Get it? So by this we have completed our part A, that is theory of demands. Now we will stop here, and in our next class we will discuss about the part B, that is elasticity of demand. Thank you.